All in favor with a roll call vote?
Ms. A. Stroud.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Conway.
Aye. First, we have approval of the agenda.
So move.
I'm sorry, let me back that up. Excuse me, certification of closed meeting resolution 21-170.
I move we approve resolution 21-170 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve resolution 21-170. All in favor with a roll call vote?
Ms. A. Stroud.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Conway.
Aye.
And now we have approval of agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and second that we approve the agenda. All in favor with a roll call vote?
Ms. A. Stroud.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Conway.
Aye.
Next, we have approval of consent agenda, which includes A, approval of minutes from the June 21st, 2021 meeting, special meeting minutes of the June 22nd, 2021 meeting, special minutes of the June 28, 2021 meeting, warrants, and resolution 21-171 personnel matters resulting from closed session.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor with a roll call vote?
Ms. A. Stroud.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Conway.
Aye.
There is no public hearing this evening. Next on the agenda, we have items with appointment. Ms. Robin Holloway with Thurman Adult Daycare Center is present to request funding for the operations of the Adult Daycare Center, which is attachment J in your agenda packet. Ms. Holloway?
Good evening.
Hi, nice
you
to see you in person. My name is Robin Holloway. I'm the nurse and the director of Thurman Adult Daycare Center. We tried to open in February of last year, and we were taking enrollments, and then COVID came. So we closed until July 20th. And we successfully opened, and we're running well for 6 months. And then another bad case of COVID came into the area, so we didn't want public transportation, you know, that they ride in to bring anything into the center. So basically, January 29th, we closed again with the hopes of opening within a month. However, in the attachments that you have, the Department of Social Services here in Emporia, Greensville, failed to do their part, which was to authorize these people to attend the center. There was a screening that needed to be done, and no one here knew how to do it. So I went above their heads, and I brought in big people from the state that told them what they had to do. It's been in the policy book for 30 years. We're the first adult daycare. We're actually a healthcare facility along with nursing homes and assisted living. We're in the middle to keep them out of either one or the other, and they can stay at home. But because of them not knowing what their job was, I suppose, we're $28,000 and some change in debt. Medicaid is not paying. And I've addressed that with Medicaid. I fight with them every day, and I've never known such, this is a bad word, ignorance in state government in my life. And I worked on the other side. I have a handicapped son, so I worked with that on the other side of the state, and they were just as ignorant on that side too. So, but we're asking for $15,000 so that we can open again. We have new people waiting. I just enrolled another participant yesterday in the hopes that we will reopen. I have several waiting to enroll, and we have 10 that were already enrolled but can't come back until their bills are paid. And they need this place. It's more, it's not like nursing facility looking atmosphere. It looks like home with one room is pink and one room is blue. And it's a really nice place. I would like for you all to come by and see how nice it is. It's not just a healthcare facility. We treat them like they are at home. And it's something very needed in this community. We do serve Brunswick, Sussex, Southampton, and Dinwiddie as well. But we have no participants in those counties at this time. So I'm asking the county to help us to open this facility and bring in as many as 36, if not more, depending on their schedule when they come. And I'm fighting every day with Medicaid, DMAS, everybody to try and get paid, and nothing's happening. So that's all. Thank you.
I
Thank
just
you.
had one question for you.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
said that social services was supposed to register all of your clients so that they could pay for the services that they were receiving, but social service did not do that.
Social services was supposed to, I guess you could say, guide us through the process. I started making phone calls in July on what this process was. Well, they left out the first part. So I did everything else and ended up doing the first part last because that's when I found out. They didn't know how to do, it's an assessment that says whether they meet the needs of going into a home or assisted living. And if they do meet those needs, they get on a waiver called the CCD Plus waiver, which gives them a list of personal care, all kinds of things, which include adult day, health care. And they didn't know how to do the UAIs, and they did them wrong, or they failed to call me back. I'm just getting my third UAI done, and I have 10 that need to be done.
Okay, now, if by chance they get everything straight, will they plan to retro pay you for
Yes.
those clients?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, I hope. We can hope.
They're not saying they wouldn't do that, though, but if everything is straight, they will retro pay?
Yes.
Okay.
She hopes.
Right. All right, I think that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway. Next on the agenda, we have Mr. Cornell Hines and Reverend George Pugh. They are present to request a waiver of the rental fees for the Golden Leaf Commons for a committee recognition event being held by the Fuller House, which is attachment K in your agenda packet. Mr. Hines and Reverend Pugh.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That Reverend Pugh and Deacon Hines. Truly, we are here this afternoon to ask you to let us have our affair here at the Emporia, Greensville, Fuller Center, having our annual meeting service September the 16th. And that we would love to have it here because we're trying to invite most of the community folks, all churches, whatever, and individuals. And we feel within that where we have it now, each year, the place may be too small to have it. We are looking forward for at least 100 folks. That's what we are looking forward to. And we appreciate if we can have it right here at 6 o'clock. Excuse me. At 6 o'clock on that particular date. And now making out the program, I'm sorry, just should have cut it off before coming in here. making out the program that we would love to have the Board of Supervisors to be with us. And on that particular day, if we can have the supervisor to be with us, that we want to have a special place for you. And if you notice that my last time here, that we gave out envelopes with the self-address stamp on it, and we heard from just one or two, but we are expecting the board members if possible. And if you come in, please get that information to me as early as possible, because I'm in the process of making out the program. Because September is right around the corner, and we just have a short time. So whatever, we appreciate whatever you all can do for us, Brother Hines.
And also in addition to what you had requested, those of you that might not know, we anticipate Dr. Ed groundbreaking last Wednesday on the 11th house that we had started building. This program each year, building on faith. Through various members of the community and so forth, we recognize them as what we have done. And the years still doing it, we trust it will continue. So we trust you all will heed what we have requested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for your
Mr. Hines. and Reverend
consideration.
Pugh.
Whatever you can do for us, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have citizens' comments. A sign-up sheet was placed out front. If there's anyone that did not get on the sign-up sheet, if you'll make sure you raise your hand so Ms. Drummond can add you to there.
Gary, you want to go to the protocol?
Yes, Mr. Slayton.
All right, here we go again. As you know, you may have heard this before, each speaker is given 3 minutes. I will advise each speaker when 2 minutes have elapsed and when 3 minutes have elapsed. And at that time, we ask that the speaker exit the podium. Each speaker can address the board only once, which is to say, one speaker cannot give his or her 3 minutes to another speaker. Speakers are asked to face the board and address the board, not the audience, as we know you will, to behave in a mannerly and respectful way of the board and others here this evening. Prior to beginning your comments, we ask that you state your name and address for the record. And I think Gary's been over this. If you want to speak and haven't signed up, we'll let you know. But if not, we'll go to speakers.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Ray.
Hey, good afternoon to the board. My name is Michael Ray, 583 Scotland Drive, Jarrett, Virginia, Greensville County. I'd like to start by saying a happy belated Independence Day to the board and all the citizens here. And I'd also like to start with a quote from John F. Kennedy given July 4th, 1946. The American Constitution has set down for all men to see the essentially Christian and American principles that there are certain rights held by every man which no government, no majority, no matter how powerful, can deny. Conceived in Grecian thought, strengthened by Christian morality, and stamped indelibly into American political philosophy, the right of the individual against the state is the keystone of our Constitution. Each man is free. And I say that because I certainly don't feel like I'm against the state, but I'm sure this board is tired of seeing me, tired of hearing me. But I will tell you that I'm not alone in my thoughts. There are people behind me, that are people that support me, and I want to reiterate for the record that I do not like the decisions this board has made governing this county. I feel like that some of the board members here, I think you're winners of a popularity contest. You weren't elected for your ability, or if you were, you haven't shown that ability. And again, for the record, I want to say, not happy with your governing, not happy with your past performance in releasing employees, not happy with your performance of hiring employees, not happy with your performance of showing favoritism to new hires, not happy with your potential nepotism that was violated. The list goes on and on. I am not going to stop coming here and telling you how unhappy I am with what this board does. And I hope that it gets better. I know we have a new county administrator. I hope she feels as strongly as I do about some of the just downright dishonest and deceitful things that I believe this board has done. And again, it's not just me. At the last meeting that we had, I know that the attorney gave a statement giving a reason on why it was held at the Greensville
Two
County
minutes.
Airport. And I would say I've seen this board react in much less time to change meeting places, to change policy, but we couldn't change the location and time of a meeting because it was pre-scheduled. I don't buy it. I think the meeting was held there in a small room at an odd time because you didn't want an audience. And you'll have a hard time making me believe otherwise. Again, happy belated Independence Day to everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Clint Slate.
Clint Slate, 103 Beech Tree Lane. I just wanted to ask the question again. I know I heard it discussed one night, but never heard anything any further. Maybe it's been made public and I just missed it. But I was wondering what the mindset was or whatever became of the public trash, the dumpster sites, having a site open on Sunday. And am I missing, is there a site open on Sunday anywhere in the county? I'm asking. And I guess that was my biggest thing coming back to, a lot of people, I know that Sunday's supposed to be a day of worship, depending on what your belief is. And I know I was raised under that for many years, but as life goes on, things change. It doesn't work out that way. And I know being a contractor and having dumpsters on sites, on job sites throughout the county, whether it's in this locality or any other, that to restrict, to have one day that it's closed, that's very hard because there are a lot of people that are not fortunate enough to, to be off any day other than Sunday. And for a man to take his trash out, it's mighty inconvenient. So I just wanted to ask that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, old business, board and commission appointments, was deferred from previous meetings. The Mahern Regional Library Board is an at-large appointment for a term of 4 years. The appointment was deferred from the meeting of June 21st, 21. So we'll open the floor for nominations.
I nominate Deborah Davis.
Are there any additional nominations? If not, we can take a vote at this time.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Under other matters, item A, ZTA 1-21, County of Greensville and proposed comprehensive plan amendments, attachment L in your agenda packet. If you'll refer to attachment L as a memo in regards to the outcome of the joint work session that was held on June 22nd, 2021. The Greensville County Planning Commission made the following recommendations to the board. ZTA 1-21, County of Greensville, Commissioner Jeff Robinson made a motion to recommend making no changes to the zoning ordinance pertaining to utility scale solar development, seconded by Commissioner Barnes Rhodes, with 5 voting yes, 1 voting no, and 1 abstaining. The motion was carried. In the second item, proposed comprehensive plan amendments, Commissioner Jeff Robinson made a motion to recommend making no changes to the comp plan pertaining to solar, seconded by Commissioner Barnes Rhodes, with 5 voting yes, 1 no, and 1 abstaining, and the motion was carried. Again, that is attachment L in your agenda packet. The next item on the agenda is procurement of equipment and/or services for collection of solid waste. For fiscal year 22, the Board of Supervisors approved the capital improvement projects in June 2021, which included $171,000 to replace the roll-off truck for the solid waste collection sites. Kenny Parker, program coordinator, secured 3 quotes for a replacement roll-off truck, with the lowest from Tidewater Mac Incorporated in the amount of $169,909.35. For fiscal year 2021, the following expenditures occurred in regards to the operation of the roll-off truck, which is July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. truck repairs in the amount of $19,899.86, and hauling services by ride-out in the amount of $29,662.50, for a total of $49,562.36. For fiscal year 2021, $7,500 was budgeted for ride-out equipment to provide services when the roll-off truck was not available. At a previous meeting, the board requested quotes on contracting out the hauling services. Per Mr. Parker's memo, which is attached to what you have in front of you, Ride Out Equipment Company was the only vendor interested in performing hauling of the dumpsters. Mr. Parker received an estimate of $248,800, which includes hauling of containers from 11 collection sites to the landfill, 8 hours per day, 5 days per week for 52 weeks. The estimate also includes the hauling of one sludge container to be hauled twice a week for 52 weeks from the Three Creek Water Treatment Plant. The estimate does not include hauling of the sludge container from the Jarrett Water Treatment Plant, as this is done on an as-needed basis and is dependent upon weather conditions. Hauling may be needed as often as once a week or limited to every few weeks. Mr. Reggie Owens, Program Manager, also submitted a memo in regard to the solid waste collection sites. Staff requests the board's direction on how to proceed with this matter. Mr. Kenny Parker is also available this evening if you all have any questions.
Well, the numbers we were presented during budget session were different from some of the numbers on this email we got today. But looking at the cost, annual cost of maintenance, fuel, tires, upkeep, general upkeep of the truck, a driver and benefits, with the annual cost of that, when we were looking at it during budget session in April, was close to $150,000. So my request was look at contracting it versus buying a new truck, because when we were presented this in April, we were presented 3 trucks, a boom truck, a roll-off truck, and a pickup. And if I'm correct, Ms. Astrop said if you can only have one truck, which would you prefer? And Mr. Parker said the roll-off truck. But with the cost of this roll-off truck being $170,000, and my calculations, if you take that sludge container out, which I think that's billed through water and sewer, isn't it? Is that correct, Mr. Gibson?
Well, it's a trade, it's kind of a trade-off. So
Okay. But
that would
that would bring the cost down to like $229,000, $230,000 a year annual for contract services, which is $80,000 above the normal $150,000 that we were presented. And purchasing one truck will contract this service for 2 years. And we know next year the other truck's coming back to be requested again. So it's my opinion that we contract this service out. But if everybody wants to review the numbers, since there's some discrepancy in the numbers, it's up to the board.
We'll review the numbers. See what we come up
So
with.
you want to defer this decision?
We'll defer. You like?
We put it in the budget. We budgeted that amount until we could get the numbers that we requested to contract it out, correct?
So
We budgeted the cost of the new truck, but we also requested we get it bid out to see what it would cost contracting versus buying a new truck. And that's where we are now. We've just gotten these numbers on the truck, and we've just gotten been presented these numbers on contracting it out. So,
When I looked at the numbers, $240,000, you look over 3 years, you're talking about close to $750,000. And we found a truck for I think the last price I saw was around $169,000. And is Mr. Parker back there?
but the annual cost he presented us in April was $148,000. And that's an annual cost. That's going to be every year. That's an every year cost, including your driver and benefits, maintenance, upkeep on the truck.
I did not partake in that. That was done by Mr. Owens. That was before he left on leave. So I have no
Now,
recollection.
you presented us the information during budget session back in April.
Yes, and I gave you some numbers that finance gave me
Right.
at that time. And I don't have a lot of the stuff because I came in at a different time point. But I gave you all everything that I could get quick. Everything's been quick.
Well, the numbers we were presented is what I'm basing my theory on. And, I mean, it's in my opinion, we contracted out. But if in respect to the other board members, if you want to review the numbers,
Yeah, being that I just got the email today with the new numbers, I would like to compare the numbers and look at everything.
so we defer this to next meeting?
But before we do that, let me say this. And I think one of the things we're pushed up against, as far as getting this rollback, we're going to run out of time for the simple reason that it takes time to put the truck together. There's one truck, and if we're looking at the numbers right now that I saw, was $240,000. I'm correct on that? Okay,
Yes, sir.
so if you maintain the truck, I think you said the price is going to be like 168, 169. What other expenses that I, maybe he saw that I didn't see, that would get us above the 248, and if we lease it out, and if we got the truck, because if we buy the brand new truck, wouldn't that defer or kind of eliminate any maintenance, anything we have to maintain on that truck?
It normally, from my understanding, from me talking to the guys, come with a 3-year.
3-year warranty?
That's right.
Right. And so we look at it, and now, so what other expense will we have within a given year besides?
It'll just be oil changes.
And tires
And
and
tires.
fuel and a driver and an operator.
And from 168, that's gonna get up to 248?
This truck's supposed to last only 10 years.
Right.
It can last longer than that.
Estimate.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just can't see how we gonna go from 168 to 248 with changing oils and buying tires in a given year. I just can't see it.
We're basing it on the numbers that were presented during budget.
Okay, but he said now,
That's
the
what I'm
other
saying,
day,
it's a discrepancy in the numbers we were.
the other day, you asked for numbers, and now you've been presented numbers. It was your request to ask for numbers. Now we've been presented with numbers.
He just disagreeing with the numbers.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
now
right.
that we've got the new numbers, I move that we table this to review the numbers again and bring this back at our next meeting.
I'll agree with that, but I also want to add, can y'all hear me now? I also want to add, there's other things that we could look at too, along the same line of contracting the service out, because by contracting, we alleviate the county of risk and liability, and Mr. Slayton may be able to weigh in on that. Because if we're going down the road now and a gate comes open and we dump something in the road, we possibly could cause an accident, or we could have a hazardous spill, and you got to call in a hazmat team. So I think we got to weigh in those options. Another thing along the same line, we've had a lot of discussion in recent meetings around overflow, dumpsters being full. We have one truck, one driver. If we contract this out, they have multiple trucks, multiple drivers. I think that would eliminate some of that overflow.
Can I ask a question? If you do decide to do this, what will you do with the truck that you currently have that's currently running and operable?
Well, that's another question that, Ms. Drummond, can you hear me? That's another question that we've got, because Mr. Kane just alluded to the fact that time's running out, but in your email today, you said the truck was only 8 years old and life was 10 years. So do we have time to look at this? What's the rush to go in a contract on a truck right now?
Because normalcy within this business is always more than one truck. Rideout has more than one truck. Whoever's in this type of industry, they always have a backup.
But what I'm saying is, you're saying it's rushed for time constraints now.
Yes, the reason why is that is because the Tidewater Mac, the ones that's giving us the price, the cheaper price, they can only process 3 trucks within a year. And they have sold 2. And the trucks take like 8 or 9 months to process. So if we don't get this one that's available, you won't be able to get another one until next year.
But if our truck is okay now, what's going to be the danger of waiting until
Our
next
truck
year?
is currently in the shop now. It still has little mishaps that's happening because of the age. It's good to be a spare truck. which would save costs from getting the contract if we had two.
You had a motion to defer on the floor.
Gonna get a motion to defer.
You already got it.
Got it.
You need to vote.
Second. All in favor? Roll
Ms.
call vote.
Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell,
Aye.
Mr. Kane.
Abstain.
Next item on the agenda, boards and commission appointments. The first is the Greensville Employer Welfare Board, a county representative appointment for a term of 4 years. Mr. Gary Cyphers filled the unexpired term beginning April 1st, 2021 until June 30, 2021. An appointment needs to be made to fill the vacancy until the hire of a new county administrator.
I move that we appoint Mr. Gary Cyphers to serve until the new county administrator comes on board.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Next item is the Industrial Development Authority, which is an election District 1 appointment for a term of 4 years. The present appointee is Mr. Herbert Lewis, again from election District 1. The term expires September 30th, 21. Mr. Lewis notified the office that he will no longer be able to serve on this board. An appointment needs to be made from election District 1 to fill the unexpired term beginning July 1st, 2021 until September 30th, 2021. Staff also recommends appointing the individual to serve the next 4-year term immediately following the September date of expiration. We'll open the floor for nominations.
If no one has a nomination, since this is my district, I did ask the gentleman to be on this board, and he called right before I walked in to say that his job schedule now changed, so he's not gonna be able to serve. So if we could table this till next meeting, when I have time to reach out to a few more people.
Tape it.
Yeah.
The next item is the Southside Virginia Education Center Board of Directors. Mr. Gary Cyphers filled the unexpired term beginning April 1st, 2021 until June 30th, 2021. An appointment needs to be made to fill the vacancy until the hire of a new county administrator.
I move that Mr. Gary Cyphers serve this term until the new county administrator comes on board.
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is miscellaneous matters. Item A, staff work programs, and item B, staff meeting minutes. Are there any questions in regards to either of these two matters? The next item would be adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second that we adjourn. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that we go under a regular section for water and sewer.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
A motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Approval of the consent agenda. Motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
No public hearing. Item with appointment, none old business, none new business. FY '22 budget.
Attachment C in your agenda packet is the proposed or recommended FY 2022 budget calendar for the Water and Sewer Authority. Staff is requesting your input and approval on the proposed calendar.
Anybody got any question on the calendar?
I don't.
I move we approve recommended fiscal year 2022 budget calendar.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Resolution WS 2157.
Good evening.
In your agenda package, please see attachment D, which is resolution WS 21-57. The Greensville County Water and Sewer Authority purchases a large number of chemical products for our water and wastewater treatment. The authority recently advertised for sealed bids and received sealed bids for 24 different products. The bid packages were properly formatted. Each bid was received in a timely manner and signed by an individual authorized to conduct business on behalf of the responding company.
The bid prices will be in effect from August 1st, 2021 until July 31st, 2022. Staff recommends the GCWSA Board of Directors award the chemical bids to the low bidder for each of the products listed on the attached bid tabulation.
You got a motion? Any discussion?
I move, any discussion?
Any discussion?
I move we approve resolution WS 21-57 as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Conway.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, miscellaneous, staff work program.
I move we adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
A motion?
Ms. Astrop.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Kane.
Aye.